It was a sunny Saturday morning in the Parker household. The smell of fresh toast filled the air, birds chirped outside, and Mom was folding laundry in the next room. Everything seemed perfectly peaceful, too peaceful. Mom paused, holding a towel mid-fold. She said, squinting toward the kitchen. "Where's Tony?" Tony, her 2-year-old toddler with curly hair and chubby cheeks, was usually full of noise, babbling to his toy truck, giggling, or banging spoons together like a tiny drummer. But this morning, not a sound. And in any parent's mind, silence plus toddler equals trouble. Mom tiptoed down the hallway. The kitchen door was slightly open, and through the crack, she heard the faint clink of a jar lid. "Tony," she called softly. No answer. She peeked in, and gasped. Flour was everywhere. It floated through the air like snow, coating the counters, the floor, and most of all, Tony. There he stood on a chair he had somehow dragged across the floor, his face white with flour and his hair puffed up like a little cloud. In one hand, he held a wooden spoon. In the other, a very cracked egg. "Mommy," he squealed proudly, "I'm making toast cake." Mom tried not to laugh. "Toast cake." "Aha!" Tony said, beaming. "Toast in bowl. Flour for snow. Eggs for splat. And peanut butter for stick." He pointed to a bowl that looked like something between a pancake and a mud pie. There were bits of bread floating in the goo, a spoon sticking out at an odd angle, and what might have been a banana mashed at the bottom. Mom blinked. "That's very creative." Tony grinned wider. "I'm a chef. Like on TV." At that moment, the toaster dinged, and 2 slightly burnt pieces of bread popped up. Tony gasped with delight. "It's ready." Before Mom could stop him, he scooped a big spoonful of his toast cake batter and slapped it on top of the toast like frosting. It dripped onto the counter, down the chair, and onto the floor with a plop. Mom covered her mouth, trying not to burst into giggles. "Oh, Tony, the kitchen looks like it snowed inside." Tony clapped his hands, sending another puff of flour into the air. "Snow toast cake, Mommy." Mom sighed, but she couldn't be mad. He had tried so hard to be helpful. "All right, Chef Tony," she said finally. "If you want to cook, we'll do it together. But next time, we follow the recipe, and maybe use a little less flour." Tony nodded seriously, leaving tiny handprints on his cheeks. "Okay, Mommy. No flour snowstorm next time." Together, they cleaned up the kitchen. Tony held the little dustpan while Mom swept the flour mountain into a pile. He hummed a song while wiping peanut butter smudges off the chair, and then licked the rag when he thought she wasn't looking. When the kitchen was finally clean again, Mom poured them both some milk and toasted new bread, without cake batter this time. Tony took a big bite and smiled. "Mommy, this toast is yummy. But not as funny as my toast cake." Mom laughed. "You're right, Tony. But maybe we'll save your recipe for April Fool's Day." When Dad came home later and saw the spotless kitchen, and the faint smell of peanut butter in the air, Mom told him the whole story. They laughed until tears ran down their faces. Dad knelt beside Tony. "So, Chef, what did you learn today?" Tony thought for a moment, then said proudly, "Cooking is fun. But Mommy says, ask first." Curiosity is wonderful, but always ask for help before you start something new. Mistakes can be messy, but they can also lead to laughter, learning, and love. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Bye.